Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Five Star Revolution Podcast, the one and only official Five Star Revolution Podcast. If you haven't already, go over to Facebook right now, follow, share, and like our Facebook page, Five Star Revolution Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Five Star Revolution Podcast. Tonight, we have a very intriguing guest. I've been looking forward to this interview. His name is CAQ Unshackled. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you so much for joining us here tonight on the Five Star Revolution podcast.
Uh, Thank you for having me.
So let's start from the beginning. Were you a fan growing up of professional wrestling? If so, who were your favorites?
Um, I was a fan growing up. When I was like a little kid, I was a Hulkamaniac. And as I became a teenager and an adult, I didn't really have any like favorites. I just enjoyed it overall.
So, how did you get your start into the professional wrestling business?
I first started wrestling in 2009. I went to the ECPW training center in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey. Got trained by Gino Caruso and a guy named Tony Myers, who is the current FMW Leatherface in Japan. He helped mentor me some, so definitely an interesting start.
So, for those fans who don't know who CAQ is or your character, you mind explaining a little bit about who you are?
Sure. So essentially, a former psych ward patient. Now I'm trying to get out into the world and try to reacquaint myself with normal society. So do that through wrestling, and that's pretty much what you got for me.
So, I love your mask, man, and reminds me of Mankind. Was that the inspiration of that character?
Um, Honestly, it wasn't. Honestly, I was given the advice to get a mask, but for based on the mask and stuff, it kind of was like, oh, you're too much like Mankind and all that. So I kind of ditched it. So I just go by my with my regular face now.
What made you want to become a pro wrestler?
I've always wanted to be one since I was a young kid, and after going to college, I and got a real big boy job. Decided let me give it a try while I'm young. So I started out at 23, and here I am like 13 years later, and I'm here.
What would you say is some of the highlights of your career so far?
Um, I think a big highlight of my career would being able to win the Wrestle Pro Gold Championship, since that is my home promotion, and it just was my first singles championship since I had won one other tag titles too, but I just felt like it culminated and was the peak of the results of all of my hard work. And I've also have done extra work with several national companies and also wrestled with some national companies too, and that's kind of a really big highlight for me too.
So that was going to be my next question. Have you been backstage, WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, any of those promotions? And if you have, how was that experience for you?
Been backstage with WWE a few times. It's been a really, really enlightening experience. Just seeing the culture there and just really just being in the place where I watched on TV as a kid, and also have been done some extra work with Impact, and recently I did a little extra work for ROH at their most recent Honor by Glory event, the one that took place on can't even remember the date. Last Saturday, I can't remember the exact date, but I was there helping out and wrestled on a couple of Impact's Twitch specials a few years back.
And would you say that the Impact locker room, WWE locker room, and Ring of Honor locker room are all different? If they are, can you explain a little bit about the differences?
Well, I know for me, the WWE locker room was very structured, whereas the other locker rooms were, I mean, they're all structured in their own way, but but the WWE one felt a lot more corporate, if that makes sense. And I think it just differs based on the personalities, because different people bring different vibes.
I totally agree, man.
Yeah.
And if you do you remember your first match? And if you do, what did you learn from that match?
Well, the first match I ever had took place in September of 2009 in a rinky-dink town called McAdoo, Pennsylvania. And the big lesson I learned from that match is to always bring your gear, because I was slated to debut the next week, and I thought, oh, I shouldn't bring my gear yet because I'm not going to debut yet, but half the show didn't show up, so here you go, throw me out there. So I had to wrestle in sneakers, khakis, and a Static X t-shirt turned inside out. So
And how did that go for you?
I think it went well, because I trained at that point 3 to 4 days a week from February to September, which I guess that's about 6 months. So I think that definitely helped me get ready, and I wrestled the other guy who was doing the ring truck, and we had a camaraderie, so I kind of knew based on that, and also refereeing and ring announcing and doing other things at shows beforehand, kind of knew what he did, so it was relatively easy.
Who's your dream opponent and why?
Ah, that's a that's honestly a good question. I really don't have a good answer for you, just because I I tend to just kind of let's see where things go, and sometimes you don't even think, but then things fall in your lap. Like, for example, in 2010, I had the opportunity fall into my lap to wrestle Brutus Beefcake in a steel cage.
Nice.
And like, I wouldn't have thought, oh, I'm gonna wrestle Brutus Beefcake today. But lo and behold, I get there and get told, hey, you're gonna be the mass superstar today. You're gonna wrestle Brutus Beefcake, and then Brutus Beefcake ran so late from an autograph signing because of traffic that it originally wasn't supposed to be in a cage, and then the cage was already up by the time he got there, so we just turned it into a cage match.
Nice, nice. I bet you that was an honor to share the ring with a legend.
Yeah, definitely. It was some of the most captivating 90 seconds of my life.
So the match only lasted 90 seconds?
Yeah.
What kind of a cage match is that?
One where I get thrown to the steel cage and get pinned. So,
That's an easy payday for Brutus Beefcake.
yeah, nice little payday for both of us. And then we went to the buffet afterwards and ate dinner. So,
Okay, so speaking of stories, you've been around quite a while now.
yeah.
Funny road stories you mind sharing with us?
Sure. I remember one time when I was doing a ring crew, we were doing it in Monticello, New York at, I think it was a high school. It was a school where there was a middle school or a high school, probably a high school, but I tell the other guy doing the ring, it's like, just back it straight up and then just park it right by the door. We'll just swing all the stuff out. Lo and behold, this guy decides to try to, instead of it being perpendicular, oh, it's just gonna be easier to do it parallel to the door, which makes sense, except he tried to go and drive it that way. And then he slid down a hill, and after a couple of frustrating hours, he had to call a tow truck because it got stuck. And I just saw him driving the truck defeated, because you could tell because there was all mud on the truck and all that. And I let him know, hey, I'll pay for the toll. And he just bitterly says, that's right, you're going to pay for the toll. That's right. I'm like, don't blame me, dude. You're the one who decided to do that when I told you to do something else.
It's funny, man.
Yeah.
If there's one thing you wish you knew before you started wrestling, what would that be?
One thing I knew,
Wish you knew.
I wish I knew how much networking relied on things, because I'm a natural introvert. So I have really had to be more outgoing in order to get this to work. And I could have been more outgoing, and maybe I would be a little bit more progressed in my career, but hey, I'm taking on this path for a certain reason, so I'm not looking back with any regrets.
So, what motivates you and keeps you want to to keep wrestling?
Well, for one thing, it's always what I wanted to do, and so it's my dream to earn a living doing wrestling. And whether it's being in the ring, or I can kind of see other ways of doing it now, like with coaching. And the guy who trained me, Pat Buck, he's a producer with WWE now. And so there are other routes to go if it doesn't exactly work in the ring, whether it's production or something. So there's always some element to where I could contribute if it's not in the ring.
So, when it's all said and done and you retire,
Yeah, right.
what do you want to do? Do you want to be a backstage producer, a manager, a referee? What would you want to do?
Well, I'm 6'4", so I would probably not really do too well as a ref. And not sure if I would make a good manager either because of my height. But I mean, I would be interested because right now I help train guys at the Creative Pro New Jersey
Okay.
wrestling school in Rahway. So I'm getting used to that and just helping with that, and just seeing if I truly enjoy that, then keep on leaving my mark in that way.
So, Creator Pro, that's Brian Myers' wrestling school, correct?
Yeah, him and Pat Buck run the one in New York, and then Pat runs the one in New Jersey, and we have a few other coaches, and I'm one of the coaches that helps out there with like the students.
How's that feeling that somebody like Pat Buck and Brian Myers trust you to be a trainer for the wrestling school?
Well, it's more so Pat, because Brian only does the Long Island one, but I feel like it's a real honor, and just is essentially just it shows that I'm doing the right stuff by what I do in the ring and out of the ring, and being able to pass on knowledge like that. It's truly humbling, you know? Just
So this is my first time doing this with a podcast guest. You
right.
mind you mind giving us a little promo?
Sure. What do you mean, like a bumper?
Like shoot a promo, talk crap about somebody, be in character for a minute.
Sure. I'm here on the 5-Star Wrestling Podcast. And in case you don't know who I am, CAQ Unshackled. And I'm using this platform to spread my message, the message in which I'm going to use what's in here in my head, and I'm going to unleash it on everybody.
That was great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So when you go to a debut for a new promotion, what's your main goal? Do you want to have the best match of the card, or do you just absorb everything and go from there?
Well, my main goal when I debut with a new promotion is to know my place because I know going into a new place, people aren't going to know who I am because realistically, I haven't been on national TV yet, and even if I have, people who might be there for one of the other local guys might not know who I would be anyway. So just knowing my place on a card, and I think that's really what I would do. Make sure I know what I'm supposed to do and how I can execute it properly, whatever it might be.
Speaking about new promotions and stuff, how do you deal with backstage politics?
I try to normally stay out of it because honestly, it doesn't really affect me all that much because I really try to go to places where none of that's too rampant. I mean, I can't really help it sometimes, but at the end of the day, if it's a independent promotion and you're wrestling in one town or a couple of towns, I'm not gonna get into some beef over it with somebody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's a lot better things to do than having to deal with that. I know that there are politics and that it is what it is, but try to deal with it by not being a part of it.
What do you think it takes these days to make it to the big time?
Well, I mean, I think the number one thing to make it the big time is to look TV ready. Because if you look like a schlub, then you're gonna lessen your chances of being able to be TV ready. Whether it's in your physique, whether it's in the gear that you wear, you gotta have all that top notch. And that'll help you be able to get up there, and also having being able to talk helps too, because even though wrestling's at the core of it, honestly wrestling is the thing that really matters the least, because if you look the part, you can talk the part, the wrestling part can will come with time.
If there's one piece of advice you have to someone looking to get in the wrestling business, what would that be?
I think it would definitely be have well it's kind of tied for two. A is have a good plan B where you're making money, because you're not probably not gonna get it in wrestling. Plus, it'll be able to a good plan B, like being able to make money and having benefits, because that'll help you out in the long run. And I know I had the second one in my head, but just lost it. But I think having that plan B is really such a key thing, because right, and it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's something you're going to have to work at, unless you're a phenom in some way, shape, or form. Whether you look like a god, or you can talk people into a room, or and definitely social media too. Like get on social media early and try to get as much of a following there as possible, because those numbers do count.
So, in your opinion, what would you say is the hardest part of being a pro wrestler?
I would say the hardest part would probably be the hustle, because you always have to hustle and sell yourself, and you have to when you first start out, you have to go to events, help out, eat a little ass, and you know what I mean. It's like you're gonna start at the bottom and then you have to earn your way up. You're not gonna just go there just because, hey, I like wrestling and I'm such a big fan of Randy Orton or whatever, because we're all fans. That's why we're here.
What do you have to say to those people who think wrestling is fake?
I say, come on down to our wrestling school and try it out for yourself, and then kind of determine that, because the bumping's real, the grind is real. It's, I mean, they can say it's fake if they want to, but it's as fake as any other TV show that's out there.
I totally agree with you there, man. You can't fake gravity, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
Especially when there's 2 inches of padding, wood, and then steel underneath that ring.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what can we expect out of you in the next 3 years?
Next 3 years, you can expect to see a lot more of me on the independent circuit, hopefully on a more national platform like an AEW or WWE or Impact or ROH. And I'm definitely transforming myself in terms of my mental health. So I'm really pushing myself back out there, and really where I'm at now, the 3 years is a long time away from now. So I'm gonna try to seize every good opportunity I can and make the most of it.
And if there's one thing that you learned in the world of professional wrestling that you carry on in your personal life, what would that be?
Um, that's a good question. I think the one thing I learned to be able to carry on is to have confidence in yourself, because you need to be confident in order to succeed in the ring and with wrestling. And having that confidence and bringing it into your personal life, it helps out with so many other aspects of things. Lack of confidence is like probably one of the hardest obstacles to overcome mentally. So
A couple more questions before I let you go, CAQ.
sure.
How do you balance your life with professional wrestling? You're a trainer, you go to shows, you do this, you do that. How do you balance life?
Delicately, very delicately, and just no. And really, with wrestling, not about going out there and just trying to attend everything. I'm really about seize the try to seize the opportunities that would mean progress for me. And I think that helps me in being able to balance what I do at home when I'm out of the ring with what I do in the ring.
Last question for me,
Sure.
CAQ. If there's one thing that you wish you can change in the world of professional wrestling, what would that be?
I just wish there were more opportunities for exposure for all of us. And I just wish there was more of an ability for all of us to make a living at it rather than trying to hustle.
Very good answer. So CAQ, Christopher Avery Quelling, correct?
Queuing.
Queuing, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's all right.
Do you have any social media or any wrestling shows that you want to promote?
Yes, actually. There are a couple of wrestling shows I want to promote. Wrestle Pro on Friday, September 3rd in Union, New Jersey at the Columbian Club, and on the Knights of Columbus, and also Saturday, October 16th in Rahway, New Jersey at the Rahway Rec Center. That's going to be a big homecoming, since that's the building that we call home, and all of our audience goes there. That was the building where Jersey All Pro used to run things went back in the day. So that there's also a festival that I'm doing Sunday, September 5th in Pompton Lakes for this company I wrestle for called the UPWA. And the events are going to be outdoors. It's good. I don't know the exact times off the top of my head, but I think it's like 10:30, 1 and 4, something like that. So there'll be a bunch of events there. And for social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at CAQ Unshackled. And that's about all I got for self promotion.
CAQ Unshackled, it was a true pleasure having you on the 5 Star Revolution podcast. We wish you the best of luck in your career. For all of our listeners, all of you watching, go over to Facebook right now for your chance to win a $200 Visa gift card. Facebook 5 Star Revolution podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel 5 Star Revolution podcast. CAQ. Thank you so much, sir. You have a great night.
Oh, thank you. You do the same.